If you expected me to wear a suit for this video, you were completely wrong. Welcome to the first of what I hope is annual of the Geek Show Awards. So in this, these are my personal picks for things that I would give awards that have been out throughout the year. Now I do understand that award shows and stuff don't actually come out at this point in the year. They tend to come out in like late January, February time. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to be looking back on the year and I'm going to be talking about some of the best action, the best animation, but I have multiple sort of awards that I'm going to talk about. I have nominations and then I'm going to tell you the winner of that. So for the category of best action, we have Ready Player One, Avengers Infinity War, Deadpool 2, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Aquaman. This was difficult because these are all really good films and they have really good action sequences in, but I had to pick the thing that really surprised me about these, and I decided that Ready Player One was going to get the award simply because of its creative use of flowing camera movements and direction and use of visual effects and, you know, the amount of pop culture references and things like that, and the sort of creativity that went into making that film and those really quite complicated action sequences. The next category is the most ambitious film of the year. So I think I've got three for these. I've got Ready Player One, first for its use of pop culture and such. We have Avengers Infinity War because it's like the combination of 10 years of films. And we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and the reason I put that on here was because of how difficult it is for an animated film to be taken seriously. And, you know, Avengers Infinity War was tried and tested. So this Spider-Verse isn't, and I felt that should go on the list for that reason. But the actual award itself I'm going to give to Avengers Infinity War, simply because, you know, it's 10 years, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of hype going towards this film, and therefore I felt like maybe this was the thing that would deserve the most ambitious, simply because it was the most complex to bring to the screen. So the next one is this thing that I'm calling the Dominance Award. So this is the film that basically cleared out every other film at the box office. And I think you kind of know what it is, but it's Avengers Infinity War, right? So there's many reasons to this. Obviously, it's a good film. It's extremely complicated to do, but it wasn't just that. The reason that I feel like this dominated at the box office is because it was in people's conversations, not just when it first came out, but for ages. People are still talking about it now as if it just came out. And some films simply don't get that. This film was one of the biggest cinema experiences I've ever had. The entire room was just filled with people, and I'm so glad that I watched it on opening weekend, because if you didn't, you basically had it spoiled at school the next on the Monday, because everybody went to go and see it and then everybody spoke about it, and if you didn't see it within that time, you kind of missed it. For the best trailer of 2018, I have multiple things. Right, so there was many that could have been added because there's been a lot of good trailers this year, but I really whittled it down to 4 in the end. So we have Aquaman and that 5-minute trailer that he gave, which I was so surprised by. I really thought it was a good visual feast and something that made me so excited for the film. We have Avengers Infinity War simply because of the scale of that trailer, the look of it, the music, something that is constantly being copied. The music was, you know, used in Venom, and I think it was being used recently by another brand, another franchise. The next one is Ready Player One. I suppose this is probably pretty low on the list, but I suppose it's the same reason as why I gave it back best action is still on this list. That shot with the DeLorean going down and those boulders flying across, it's in the trailer and it really excited me for this film, and it's the only reason that I really wanted to go and see it. And then we have Avengers Endgame first trailer. I think the hype around this film and everything like that is really built to this point, and when that trailer was finally delivered, everybody freaked out about it. So that is why I'm giving this award. Avengers Endgame is getting the award simply because I felt like once it came out, the amount of people, so where I go to school, they have 3 periods, which means that you basically just revise, but everybody just sits there and watch film trailers and such. And we saw the trailer, and then eventually people would keep coming in and they'd say, have you seen it? Have you seen it? And then you'd watch it with all of these people that have also seen it, and then just the amount of hype that was in that room that Friday afternoon was incredible. I don't think anybody's been so excited for a superhero film before. The next category is Best Animated Film. So we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Isle of Dogs, and The Incredibles 2. So all of these had really brilliant animation. Isle of Dogs must have taken absolutely years, because obviously that's stop motion, and you know, the faces and everything look so real. It's really quite incredible. Spider-Verse, again, not stop motion, but the style of it, I suppose, the computer animation and the style of that is really cool. And then The Incredibles 2, following on from the first one, the differences that they've made, the fluidity, making the characters move more fluidly, is really good, and the sort of textures in the faces and stuff, all really good. But I think I have to give it to Spider-Verse. The biggest fail of 2018. I have a lot of films in this list. So we have Sherlock and Watson, the Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly film, which came on Boxing Day, and that thing was just destined to fail. Simply watching the trailers, they're simply not funny. Robin Hood, same sort of thing. I don't think anybody really called for Robin Hood, and because it wasn't really called for, nobody went to go and see it, I'm afraid. Even with Terence Edgerton, I don't think it had the ability to stand on its own, therefore people didn't really go and see it, and I think it did have some problems as well, like in the actual story. Wrinkle in Time is sadly on this list. I'm afraid that I don't think people really cared about this film. I think it did lose money in the end. And then the final one is Immortal Engines. Same sort of thing, trying to create a franchise when I feel like nobody cared about this franchise. Well, people cared about it obviously, but I felt like the general public eye was not going for this film during December. There was too many films coming out, you know, Spider-Verse, Aquaman, that simply meant that this film isn't doing very well. So you'd think that I would pick something like Wrinkle in Time or something like that as my choice, but no, I'm going to pick Robin Hood, simply because I really, really hoped this film would be good. Like, really hoped. And then the reviews came out and it simply wasn't. It's a shame, and I feel like it's not biggest fail in terms of money, I don't think, but in terms of my emotional connection to it, I feel like it is the biggest fail in my mind, simply because I actually cared about this film and I actually wanted to go and see it, and then found out that it wasn't very good and decided otherwise. And the final award that I have is the most underappreciated or underrated film of the year. So I have 3. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp, simply because I feel like after the events of Infinity War, people really didn't care about Ant-Man and Wasp, and I actually did a video early in the year, like right in the beginning of the year, saying something like, I don't think people are going to go and see this film, even if it is good, and I don't think it was a bad film, but it was just unlucky that people didn't want to go and see it. One last thing, I want to thank you lot for watching this video. I also want to thank my subscribers in general for simply watching all of my videos. My channel has grown hugely over the last year. This time last year, my channel was on like 20-30 subscribers, and now we're extremely close to 70. In fact, we reached 70 and then it went down again and it went back up again and then it went back down again. I don't know why. I felt like this year I really went into this fan base, I suppose, and really spoke to people that I wouldn't do normally, and met people this year that I didn't before, and they've been nice people, and I really appreciate them. Now there's plenty of examples, but I'm not going to give them the limelight. No, but generally I do want to thank anyone who has commented or even watched my videos this year. I've really appreciated it. Actually, I'll name 2 of them. So the first one was YouTube Gallifrey and is now SL Productions. I have watched many of his videos, and I particularly liked the top 50 YouTubers this year, simply because I felt like I actually got to watch many people who had the same common interest as me, and I got to see what defines other people's love of Doctor Who. Second is Philip Hawkins, and I feel he is one of my best subscribers, simply because he watches most of my videos. So I want to thank you. I don't tend to do that, so thank you. Oh yeah, I also want to thank Will, simply because he has been forced into many of my videos this year. This year we started the podcast, which has meant that he has to come around to my house basically monthly to film it. Kind of regret doing that now. So there we go. If you want to, you can have a look at the podcast when it finally comes out, and that will feature me and Will talking about this episode, this game I've created, I suppose, the awards, and we will be talking about it and discussing the films a bit more than I am here, simply for time wise, because you have things to do. You probably don't want to sit here and listen to me talk. You can do that on a podcast as you're walking home from school. So thank you guys for watching. This has been DHG Studios. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you like, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.